cause. We're going to return to, in docket order, Robert Solis. Give me a second to find my card, Mr. Levine, and then we will. There we go. I need a PC4 for this, please. Robert Solis, 164-7806. Please and thank you. Okay, so Mr. Solis is charged with capital murder. Mr. Levine.
Your Honor, you mentioned about the public defender waiving probable cause, but would you like us to read probable cause at this time?
I apologize. I may have misspoken. I want to be clear. It's my thank you for reminding me, Mr. Levine. It's my understanding at this time that Mr. Solis is in medical, so he is not present. It's also my understanding that the Public Defender's Office, specifically Mr. Chris Self, spoke with Mr. Solis earlier. Mr. Solis waived his presence at the reading of probable cause. Is my understanding correct, Mr. Martin?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Thank you. So at this time, we are going to, we would proceed without him because he's in medical and he's not available. He will be taken before a judge at the earliest opportunity, but under 17.033D, his presence is not required at this time, but he has also waived his presence at the reading of probable cause, according to the Public Defender's Office who spoke with him earlier. So.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
On September 27, 2019, affiant Deputy Investigator Anthony Thompson was assigned to the Harris County Sheriff's Office Homicide Division, responded to a call that a deputy had been shot. The affiant learned that Sheriff's Deputy Sandeep Dhaliwal was shot while conducting a traffic stop on Willancy Court Road, Houston, in Harris County, Texas. At approximately 12:30 p.m., the complainant, Deputy Dhaliwal, conducted a traffic stop on a silver Nissan Altima with listed license plate. Affiant was able to view dash cam footage of Deputy Dhaliwal. It shows the complainant making contact with the driver, who was later identified as the defendant, Robert Solis. The dash cam shows the complainant walking back to his patrol car, at which time the defendant can be seen exiting his driver's side door, running towards the complainant while pointing a gun in the direction of the complainant. Seconds later, the video shows the defendant walking back to his car, getting back into the driver's side, and driving off. The defendant in the patrol dash cam video shows to be a Hispanic male who is wearing a gray shirt and tan-colored shorts. Affiant learned that a 911 caller called and stated that an officer had been shot, at which time an assist the officer broadcast went out. Affiant learned that the complainant's dash cam was viewed, and the description of the silver Nissan Altima and the description of the short Hispanic male with gray shirt and tan shorts was then broadcast. A perimeter was set up around a Kroger parking lot, at which time the defendant's vehicle was located unoccupied. At approximately 1:30 p.m., Harris County Precinct 4 Deputy M. Reddick came across the defendant who fit the listed description. Deputy Reddick advised affiant that the defendant walked out of a marble slab, at which time Deputy Reddick attempted to identify the defendant. Deputy Reddick stated the defendant became irate and refused to identify himself. Deputy Reddick stated the defendant was brought back to the Kroger parking lot where he was detained. Officers interviewed a witness who was in the car with the defendant at the time that the complainant conducted the traffic stop. The witness was identified as Jay Saiz. She informed officers that while traveling in the passenger seat of the Nissan Altima with the defendant told her that they were about to be pulled over and that he has tickets. Saiz stated once the complainant approached the car, he told them they were stopped for running a stop sign. Saiz stated the complainant allowed her to leave, but the defendant was told he could not leave because he could not be identified at that time. Saiz stated she walked to her father's house, at which time another witness, Covey, picked her up. Saiz stated while in the car with Covey, she received a call from the defendant telling her that he had just shot a police officer and asking her to come pick him up. Saiz stated at first she did not believe the defendant until the defendant called Covey. Officers interviewed Covey, who also stated that the defendant had called him, stated he had just shot a cop, and that he wanted Covey to pick him up. Affiant was able to interview the defendant after reading him his legal warning. At this time, the defendant advised that he was stopped on traffic by a police officer while driving his sister's car. The defendant stated the complainant stopped him because he ran a stop sign. The defendant stated he was in the car with a female who was sitting in the passenger seat. He refused to provide the female's name, but did describe her as a slim brunette with long hair. Affiant was then advised by Deputy Investigator Davis that video of the defendant possibly dumping the gun in a trash can had been recovered from a Bonsai Fusion located on Highway 6 in Houston, Texas. Affiant viewed this video, which showed a Hispanic male believed to be the defendant walking out of the marble slab and up to a trash can. Video shows the defendant make a move toward his front waist, then reach down into the trash can. He then walks back into the marble slab. Affiant learned that a Glock 45 caliber semi-automatic gun had been found in the trash can where the defendant was seen. The affiant learned that the complainant was also shot with a 45 caliber pistol to the back of the head. The complainant had 2 gunshot wounds to the back of his head. One gunshot wound appeared to be an entry and exit wound because one projectile was located on the scene. The second wound is to the back of the head where the projectile is lodged in his head. The complainant was life-flighted to Memorial Hermann Hospital, where he was pronounced deceased at 4 p.m.
There is probable cause for this case to go forward. It's going to be assigned to the 230th District Court with Judge Chris Morton. At this time, it's my understanding that well, let me put it this way. Mr. Levine, I have no motions on file from the state at this time. So at this time, I'm going to make a determination as to bond. I'm going to set this case at no bond. I recognize that only a district court judge may hold somebody at no bond. So it's on the state at this point to get their ducks in a row to continue to hold him at no bond. However, in addition to what I see as obviously the most egregious offense, I do also note that the defendant has a Board of Pardons and Parole hold. He's on parole until February 11th of 2022. He's also been convicted of aggravated kidnapping and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. The nature of the allegations involved in this case and the manner in which the murder was carried out indicate to me that Mr. Solis is a severe and immediate danger to the community at large. And so at this time, I'm going to defer any decisions as to bond, personal or otherwise, to the trial court judge. In addition, Code of Criminal Procedure, Chapter 17.03 prohibits me from granting a personal bond in a deadly assault on a police officer. So that is up to Judge Morton, both to set a bond and as to whether or not to grant a personal bond. I'm sorry, Mr. Levine, what were you going to say?
Well, Your Honor, I do show that the state did file a motion to deny bail, but in light of your ruling, you've ruled in favor of that motion in any event. So. Okay.
I don't have that before me. Either way, like I said, at this time, I think that there is a sufficient danger to the community. I'm not comfortable setting a bond in this case. I think Judge Morton would be in a better position with more information before him, with the state's assistance in future, to make a determination as to whether to hold him at no bond. Either way, the state has 7 days to figure that out, and Judge Morton has 7 days to set a bond. So I'm comfortable with that decision. Let's move on to Mr. Vega.